Welcome on the supertalkshow.com, a very interesting place where you find only extraordinary people. My name is Karol Juchniewicz, and my today's guest is James Bushe, the handsome commercial pilot who changed a bit aviation history. He became the first commercial pilot who officially piloting machines with the HIV syndrome. Hello, James, now officially. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Karol. How are you?
So my first question, as I'm also passionate in innovation, because I'm also now making ATPL license very slowly, step by step, is how difficult was fighting and changing in the past the previous medical rules, the previous medical flying environments, which, in my opinion, were a bit against some illness like HIV plus syndrome. How difficult it was? How was it at all?
Good question. Yeah, it was a very tough journey for me, and what I would say is that over time it's gotten a lot easier. But in the very beginning, it was tough because at the time when I went to get my Class 1 medical, which is a medical that all aspiring commercial pilots need in order to start their training, I was told that I couldn't get that because of my HIV status, because of the rules at the time stated that if you were a pilot who already held a license but subsequently contracted HIV, you could continue to fly. But if you were somebody like me living with HIV that wanted to start training and join the profession, you couldn't. And that was incredibly tough to hear at the time. I tried to appeal that decision, and I appealed multiple times here in the UK and then to other authorities in Europe. And each time the answer was no, no, and no again. So it was really tough in the beginning to hear that and to try and find the strength and the resilience, I guess, to challenge it.
So right now, I guess the law changed, thanks you, by the way, in the past. And now, for example, everywhere in the world, people with HIV syndrome, if they are, of course, on the medicament, it's stable illness with no progress, of course. But when somebody is taking medicaments, obviously everything is fine. So it's undetectable, everything's cool. So now everywhere in the world, if I would be HIV plus, can I be a commercial pilot officially anywhere in the world?
So the challenge for us is that the rules vary throughout the world. Now, in the UK, what's fantastic is that we are now the first country in the world to have a policy in place that allows anybody, irrespective of their HIV status, to not only train as a commercial pilot, but to get a license that is free from any sort of restrictions. And essentially, what that means is that in the UK, somebody living with HIV, a pilot living with HIV, is treated no differently whatsoever to a pilot not living with HIV. In the rest of Europe, because of the work that's gone on in the UK, in some countries, it is now possible to do the same thing and to get that license and to train. And slowly but surely, we're seeing that over time, countries are starting to change their rules. Now, my hope is that over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, that same thinking that we have here in the UK and Europe will start to filter across the entire world. Now, there are some countries where you can get a license whilst living with HIV. I'll use the United States, for example. You can, Canada, you can. But there are other parts of the world where it is still a barrier. But the more countries that follow suit of what we've done here in the UK, the easier I think it will become over time for other pilots to do the same thing in their own home country.
You know, it's ICIO rules. They're quite international, so it's not that. So I mean, if you in UK, it's possible to slowly change in the rest of countries. Don't you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. So the the rules that that came from ICAO. So ICAO is the international organization, of course, that sort of sets the worldwide aviation agenda. But it is then up to the individual member states as to how they go about implementing those rules, and it is within their gift. If they can prove that it's safe to do so, like we have in the UK, it is within their gift to change them, and that's what we've done. So, albeit ICAO will change slowly because it's such a huge organization, it doesn't preclude or it doesn't stop any other country making what I believe is the right choice and allowing people living with HIV to fly. Because the key point here, and you said this before, is that a person living with HIV on successful treatments cannot pass the virus on to anybody else. They have a normal life expectancy and they don't pose a risk or a significant risk to flight safety. And that's the key thing here, is that what we've demonstrated through modern treatments and the evidence, of years of evidence that we have now of people being undetectable and not transmitting that virus to other people, we've demonstrated that people living with HIV aren't a risk to flight safety. So for me, there's no reason why any country can't or shouldn't follow in the same suit as the UK.
So, James, how long are you aware of this syndrome?
So, for me personally, I was diagnosed with HIV back in 2014. And back then, again, it was a very different landscape. It was a very different world, because what we didn't know in 2014, we didn't know about undetectable equals untransmittable and U equals U. We didn't have that evidence. And actually, back in 2014, you didn't start treatment straight away after you were diagnosed. And that's something that has come in later years. But it's amazing, and it's been incredible, and it's been a difficult journey at times for me. But it's been 9 years now, and in that 9 years, both treatments, medication, our knowledge of the virus, and the social attitudes towards the virus have changed significantly, and for the better. And my hope is that by continuing to speak about it, we can normalize it even more.
The living with HIV right now, it's much more easier, let's say, than a couple of years ago. Not only thanks some very useful things like PrEP, that people are not afraid even if they don't know the state of somebody's viremia or not, but I mean, even this undetectable status is amazing.
I'm very open with everybody that I meet now, and particularly because quite a lot of people have already seen me or heard me speak about this before.
Yeah.
And I take I have a very clear view on this. And my view is that, and I say this to other HIV positive individuals all the time, is that if somebody reacts badly to you disclosing your status to them, that reaction should never be taken as a reflection or a judgment on you, but it is more a reflection of that person's own knowledge, that person's or lack of knowledge, potentially, that person's own experiences, maybe own prejudices, and you then have a decision to make as to whether you want to take them on that journey and help them understand that undetectable equals untransmittable, that I can't pass it on to you, and that HIV has changed, or you have the option equally to walk away. And for me, I've always found it in the context of relationships to be a very easy test, actually, to say, well, you know, what does this say about that person's character? Because actually, it's not just about HIV. It's about you saying to another person, I have a point of difference, whatever that point of difference might be, and I would like you to still accept me for who I am, and that it's okay that difference is part of me. And again, if somebody isn't willing to do that, then I would say to anybody in that situation, ask yourself the question, is this, a person that you want to welcome into your life? So it's quite a long answer to the question, but yeah, I have a quite strong view on how to deal with those situations now.
Right. So dating now, it's much more easier than many years ago. People are much more aware. Also, it's easier to realize our dreams, as for example, being a commercial pilot. In UK, in Poland, where I live, it's possible right now for many years. Just you need to prove that you are on the medicament and there is no progress, So I think it's amazing, to be honest. And so how your colleagues in your current airlines reacting when they are working with you?
I mean, for me personally, I've never experienced any issues in the flight deck whatsoever. I've never had any negative reactions, or certainly nobody, even if somebody held a prejudice, maybe because I'm HIV positive, maybe because I'm gay, maybe because of something else. Doesn't matter what that prejudice is. I've never experienced or felt that in the flight deck. Now, when I have conversations, people have been curious actually. And anytime anybody is curious about HIV and asking about HIV, I always use that as an opportunity to sort of try and instill that same message. And I'll say, again, U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable, and you cannot pass it on. And that's kind of all that anybody ever needs to know. And anytime I have a conversation about HIV and I go into the history, the details, and all that stuff is great context, and it's part of the story. But actually, there's only one sentence that really matters, and that is, I can't pass it on. And at that point, when people are really clear on that and they believe you, it just completely diffuses the whatever difficult situation that you might be in. But to revert back to the flight deck, especially, I can honestly say that everyone's been great, and I would hope that what it has done is allowed them to go and have other conversations with friends, with family, to say, oh, actually, did you know that HIV has changed today, and that you can be HIV positive and you can be a pilot, you can be whatever you want to be, and from a medical perspective, you're going to live a completely normal life.
James, have you got any more dreams? Because, okay, you realize your biggest dreams when you were a young boy, you wanted to be a commercial pilot. Congratulations, you are. So have you got some more dreams to realize, or some projects, some things you would like to achieve in your life? Any more dreams?
Great question. I mean, for me, my biggest passion in life has always been travel. And that's kind of goes hand in hand with flying and with aviation. So to be able to say when I'm old and grey that I've stepped foot in every country in the world would be amazing. So every year I try to keep adding a few more flags to that list. So yeah, it's a more of a lifelong project, I think, than it is a new dream. But now for me, alongside that, it's just about enjoying this one. I think we can be quite guilty as humans of sort of always looking for what's next, and it's quite nice to just live in the moment a little bit and enjoy flying an airplane and being able to see the sunshine every day.
Sounds good. Like it's very close to mindfulness theory. So yeah, I love it. And so the last question, James, is if somebody, I guess that they may be watched by some people who would like to become commercial pilots, but it's been refused that they cannot because of some maybe stigmatization, maybe some illness, which are shouldn't be any problem in flight deck. What is your advice for these people? Shall they fight for these dreams, or just?
I think you have to. For me, the only situation in which I would have ever given up would have been if I knew that I had exhausted every single possible option open and available to me. So if somebody tells you no, then exhaust the process with that person, with that organization. If there's an appeals process, go through it and prepare for that appeal by looking, why have they said no? What is that? What regulation are they referring to? Go into that regulation yourself, find a different part that supports you, go back to the organization with the part that supports you and say, well, what about this? Propose solutions, get help. And that's the biggest thing, for me. At the beginning, I was on my own, but when the whole journey became easier was when I actually got help. Go and get medical experts to support you in whatever case that is. Go and get your local politicians to stand up to whoever that regulator is or whoever that organization is and say, well, actually, this is wrong, but this is why. I think it's always really important to have the evidence, have the facts yourself to back up your case. And if you have that, if you have the evidence, the facts, the support, and the personal resolve to make it happen, keep going and fight, and know that from examples like mine and others, that if you do that, ultimately you can win.
James, I'm very happy that you realize your dreams. You look fabulous. You're doing a good job on behalf of all people with HIV who now can become also a commercial pilot anywhere in the world. Just thank you so much. Thanks a million for your good job. I cross my fingers for your next projects and next wonderful ideas and dreams. Hopefully they will come true soon. And it was a big pleasure to meet you. And yes, thank you so much. It was a great to see you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Karol.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was the first episode of supertalkshow.com. Thank you so much for being here, for attending, and hope to see you soon again.